Here's how I make 100K a month in my early 20s, all while never having had a real job. But before you watch this, I want you to understand that most people shouldn't even try this. Most of you are too slow, too emotional, too inconsistent, and honestly way too stupid. And if that statement pissed you off, you're probably one of the archetypes of people I'm referring to. Now that we have that out of the way, let me get the other obvious thing out of the way. I'm not the next Brett Scales or TJR, and I don't have some funnel or course I'm trying to sell you. However, that should also scare you. Just hearing someone say, I have nothing to sell you, should be a red flag in itself. And honestly, you shouldn't trust a word I say or anyone, in fact. No one cares that your mom's dying. Nobody gives a flying fuck about you, in fact. That's the whole new game. Build an immense amount of trust with an audience who feels like they know you, but you don't actually give a fuck about them. Monetize the trust until they eventually stop trusting you, but at that point, who cares? You already made $5,000 off 20,000 people out of your 2 million followers. All it took was converting 1% of your audience to make 100 million if you really break down the math. 5,000 times 20,000 is 100 million. It's really that simple when you break it down that way, although most online gurus have not hit those heights, but even if they only sold 5,000 to 1,000 people, the math still maths, which kind of leads me to my next point. Do you really care about the homeless crackhead on the corner asking you for $1? Obviously not. So why would someone with millions of dollars care about you panhandling for a way out? You are to the big gurus what the homeless guy is to you. I've been making money online since I was 14 years old. It was 2015. The future actually seemed bright. Call of Duty trickshotting was dying, but a whole new era opened up. An era where you could reverse engineer the human psyche, figuring out what makes someone tick or essentially click a button on the internet. It wasn't a new method, there was always direct response marketing, but it was fresh to these brand new platforms like YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, although actually I don't think TikTok was around back then, it was Musical.ly, but all those sorts of platforms. You see, I was originally a YouTube kid. I started out Call of Duty trickshotting like you see on screen, then that kind of evolved into live streaming Call of Duty Zombies, and then that evolved again into making YouTube compilations like those funny cat videos you'd see. I still remember my first AdSense paycheck that they used to kind of mail to your house. Now I think it's just kind of like direct deposit. But it was $2,500. I was literally just making compilations of artists like Justin Bieber, showing the audience the same song with and without autotune. That was it. Back then, I think my video had to hit 2.5 million views to make $2,500 on average. It was about, a dollar per 1,000 views. Then inevitably I got into e-commerce and dropshipping on Shopify. Neither hustle was really glamorous or easy, and both took kind of like, a long time failing, but I was young and still making way more than like $500 a month, which most kids in my middle school and high school were getting at like their first few jobs, hence why I've never had a real job at all. The funny thing is though, I already know that like you rolled your eyes when you heard about like how I was doing YouTube and drop shipping, and those are the models I found success with. I mean, you've definitely heard of drop shipping, and you've probably heard of YouTube automation as well, back when you could actually upload content you didn't own and still get paid. But that old style of YouTube kind of died when the Fortnite live streamers were getting really pissed off at all the people uploading their clips into like compilations. And then I think Ninja, the streamer, kind of like forced YouTube to start demonetizing all sorts of stuff like that. But hearing about something like that and actually surviving it are two completely different things. 99% of people, they'll try these business models once, bleed a little, maybe lose 500 to $1,000, get embarrassed, and crawl right back to like their $20 an hour job. And I didn't, and that's kind of the difference, And a lot of people in my real life, people I genuinely hope never find this channel. They tend to look at me like I'm some fucking unicorn who got lucky or scammed a lot of people secretly to live the life I live. But the reality is I've probably eaten more shit than a lot of the losers who's partied through college and now take the train every day from our hometown to their corporate job in fucking Midtown Manhattan. I've been sued. I've had 30K in credit card debt with only 10K in my bank account because of bank holds and reserves. And even today, I wake up every morning with the thought that my world can come crashing down within a year because I've lived that reality before. I had $250,000 when I was 18 years old, and not even a year later, after being out on my own, I was sitting there with 10K in my bank, 30K in credit card debt, wondering how I'd get out. I don't really know what most people would do in that scenario, but I just kept it pushing. I'm pretty sure most people wouldn't have. They would have like, I don't know. I mean, it was a pretty difficult situation. But YouTube and e-commerce were the only things that rewarded sort of like my weird obsession with competing and hopefully dominating a market one day, which I still really haven't done. The whole idea of like, say just dropshipping, for example, is, you have Amazon. What if you just took like 0.1% of Amazon's revenue on like a specific niche? I haven't ever truly dominated, but the goal of dominating and then landing somewhere I wouldn't even say near the middle, but landing somewhere towards the bottom, you're still making, $100,000 a month. All in all, though, YouTube gave me leverage. I made my first sort of like mid 5 figures just off understanding why people click shit, and then pivoting that exact skill of having people click on videos based on thumbnails to then moving into like Facebook ads and e-commerce in 2016, 2017 kind of gave me an edge in a space where mostly boomers were operating at the time, because it was a boring model. At that point in time, all these kids wanted to be YouTubers. They were all trying YouTube. So to step back and step into a different industry where mostly older people were operating with that understanding of like the Gen Z audience, I think really benefited me. And the truth is, most of these people who fail at these models treat them more like methods, quote unquote. Like they view it almost like those weirdos on Instagram and Snapchat who post stuff like, if you got Chase or Wells Fargo, hit my line, let's make some money. You know what I'm saying? Like people who actually win in these models understand that they're not really methods. They're just frameworks. They're models in which you operate inside of. Most of you watching this want money, but you don't really want the parts required to actually make a fuck ton of money, or at least you don't want to go the extra length. You're laser focused on the outputs and completely ignoring the inputs. Like, for example, if I ask a brand new YouTuber what their goals are, they'll probably say something like, I want to hit 1 million subscribers. And that's cool, but that's not really a goal. That's a result, an output. You have to zoom out, take a step back, and ask yourself, what does it actually take to hit 1 million subscribers? It takes content, quality videos, lots of videos. The more content you put out, the more surface area you give yourself for something to actually take off. So instead of thinking about what you actually want, start thinking about what you're willing to do to get what you want. Because money and success come from doing the unsexy, boring tasks every single day until your brain essentially just goes numb. And my real edge wasn't some secret tactic. It was staying in the game a lot longer with people that had more talent, better resources, and higher IQs. If I started a business today, I'll look at my competition. Let's say it's a YouTube channel, just to keep things simple. I'll just analyze their posting frequency, their quality, and then I'll just kind of figure out in a way how to 2x either their output or their quality. And then I'll do this across every competitor and build out like a 90-day plan on it. While everyone else is chasing the next shiny thing, whether it's running an agency or trading meme coins, I just do the same shit day in, day out, and I have been for a few years now. But honestly, most people don't even make it this far into videos anymore. I was just spewing a bunch of bullshit. I don't even know if this is really valuable content per se. So if you're still watching, you might be built different. This might be your first sign that you actually have a shot, but don't get your hopes up, because you still probably don't. The system is rigged. It's rigged against you. You're designed to fail, especially now in today's economy. But all in all, this whole thing, my whole story was never about just kind of making money. It's really just about my goal of achieving complete freedom and control before I'm 30. Although that is an output and not an input. So I have to take a step back and think about how I'm going to get there. The ironic part, though, is none of this really required like a natural born talent. It was just a willingness to do hard shit without blinking, the ability to learn shit, even though I didn't really want to learn it, and my ability to just outlast the people who didn't have that willingness. Anyways, in the next video, I'll probably break down the exact path I took from 0 to my first liquid 100,000. So if you want that, drop a like, maybe a comment. I don't know. Thanks for watching, though.